Well, this one will be a little bit faster because process, like I said, was the same. We actually held all these workshops on the same nights, just split them in two, and worked very well. And I need to get rid of that because I keep pushing the wrong button. And so this is excuse me, Indian Hills Park, and of course I won't go through the whole story of how we ended up with this park, but this is up on Blaine Street and Indian Hills Drive. If you'll recall, part of this, the majority of it was through parkland dedication. One lot was donated by the Thompson family, and another lot, the majority of the cost of that lot was donated by Mr. Parks, and the other portion was purchased. The other part of the money was added to it by the city to purchase that lot. So you ended up with 1.2 acres, and very nice location. Has some nice views, and definitely needed for this area. And just to give you a little bit of location description, the old Tidyman's is just directly north of that in that building you see just up at the top of the slide, which is now NRS's a storage facility for them. Same process as I described before. And in this case, it looks very similar. They're actually, the two parks are situated north-south almost identically. And so you can see where the sun rotates across, but on this case, the red arrows going down to the left and right. You can see where the main slopes are. The dark red along the far left and bottom left are, that's where the steeper areas are. And of course, the top area toward the north is it's kind of like a ridge. The more flatter area of the entire park is all up there. So you'll see through the designs that that's where the majority of the main facilities would be. And just like the other group, broke it down, groups working their own design ideas. This is the first one. The second one. And of course, these came with presentations from each group. It was actually pretty interesting on how people think. And in this case, you can see where they even considered a dog run. And then concept C. And of course, concept C was the design that looked like it would work the best with the terrain and the facilities that we needed to put there. Plus, it had some of the combinations of ideas that from the other two concepts. And I don't have a pointer here, but anyway, you can see this the bottom area there. That's all slope. This area through here is all sloped downward toward Indian Hills Drive. So after the group met on their second workshop, they described the different things that they wanted to see changed. And I won't go through all of those for you, but change some of the main things was to change the areas where the playgrounds are. We had them split, and you could see on the left and right side, you can see playground here, divided by the pavilion and restroom facility. They had chairs or benches and things out through here. The idea was that a parent could watch either direction, but the groups decided in the end that if you were one parent, it would be a whole lot easier to watch if you had 2 kids or 3 kids if they were all in one area. So through that, we ended up with the preferred preliminary concept idea where they combined the 2 playgrounds, but they still had the swing set over on the eastern side, and so it still had the same issue. But we added in, you can see some walking or some seating areas to take advantage of the view shed. Here you've got natural grasses, native grasses, things like that. This is the main entry area the signage and a lot of floral type things. I believe this was an area where they were possibly some art, public art. Originally, one of the entry areas was going to be right here in the northwest corner, but it's steep enough that it would require stairs, and decided to go, at least at this point, to two main entrances, both on the bottom. These pathways are planned at grades so that they would be ADA accessible and meet any issues with that. So, but this was preliminary. Went back through, made a few changes, combined the swing sets to the area, added some benches, and widened the walkway, and looked into, I can't read that, incorporate seat benches with the monument sign. So in the end, this was the final preferred design. You see the entire play area was moved over to the western side, still kept the pavilion and restroom facilities, still have this seating, but now parents can watch their children all from one area. And that seating area that they were talking about down by the sign was down there. And the art, I think this was actually the art piece right here. And but this added, by moving this stuff over, they actually had a little bit of flat area that, you know, with grass up there where you could actually have a little bit of fun without rolling down the hill. And of course, all these designs kept a buffer toward the northern side and western or eastern side, which is where dwellings would be. And this was the design that everybody seemed to like, and that was recommended to the city, or to the Parks and Rec Commission, and which recommended adoption by the City Council. And of course, the fun part of this one was the probable cost on this conceptual was $646, almost $647,000. And of course, we added in your packets the details of the amenities that go with that. And with that, we were requesting adoption of this design by the City Council.
Wayne, this was heard in Public Works and Finance as well.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Once again, we did receive this report from Dwight last week, and we were really pleased with this particular design. Especially glad that both playgrounds ended up over on the same side and together, so all line of sight is good. It's a great design, I think, and here again, the process that was involved, the discussions. I don't know if you had to do any negotiating when you were doing it, but everything came together, and I think this park will be, one day, will be a great asset for that neighborhood. So I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the Indian Hills Park conceptual design.
Second.
Okay, Wayne's made a motion to adopt it. Jim has made a second on it. John had something he wanted to ask. Well, I'm going to ask John first. I seen his hand. John.
Yeah, you've got 3 trees that separate the play fields, and you've got the swings up on the top. Where again do the parents watch the kids?
Well,
Or could it be possible that those 3 trees in the middle are not put in?
well, of course, anything's possible, but this would be canopy trees, so the canopy would be above where
Okay.
you'd be looking.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, Art, you had a question?
Yeah, as I recall, when we were first looking at this and getting the land situated, some of the concerns of the neighbors centered around visual access and sight lines from the outside looking into the park. And so my question is about these exotic, is this thing? No, there we go, ish. Anyway, the exotic purple vegetation to the southwest, would that be designed so as not to occlude visual sight into the park from people on Blaine and Indian Hills?
well, yeah, and granted, and I don't know off the top of my head what he had actually specified those as.
I don't think he ever did. It wasn't specified.
Might not have. But part of the overall scheme of this whole park And we do have Mr. Parks here, and which was to be able to see into the park for safety reasons. So the shrubbery, we don't want shrubbery that grows to a height that basically hides people. You can have nice shrubs that are low cut, and trees, you get the canopy trees.
Well, some of them are flower beds and wildflowers and
Yes.
that type of thing.
Yeah,
all the way
but
through that
specifically
area.
right there, I mean, that, just from the looks of that, that would block some view. But these are considered, and granted, the smaller trees of that nature are more for the color than they are for shade. And they would be, and this is a drawing, so, but they would be spaced far enough apart so you could still see through them and not block the view. There's always, anytime you have any kind of vegetation of a tree, you're going to have some view blocked, depending on where you're standing, of course. But overall, yeah, you could see pretty good through this. Yeah.
Dan's got a question?
Dwight, it seems like it was pretty nice to be able to do both of these kind of together with your workshops. How many more undeveloped, or unconcepted parks do we have right now?
Well, we have planned for the moment, I have 2 parks that right after the beginning of the new fiscal year we'll start the plans on. That'd be Lola Clyde, which was a purchased property. It was not parkland dedication. And then also Milton Arthur Park out by the old Slurp and Burp. And then otherwise, the other properties, we have no other properties that are quite ready for that part yet. And I'm going to need Walter to help me out. I already forgot the number. Didn't I send you the number of undeveloped properties?
It was, wasn't it 5, if I remember?
5,
Total?
well, it was 5 parks that are basically ready for design,
Including these 2?
including these 2. And we had the one on Baker Street, but the developers, the owners actually requesting, they're going to replat. They want to move that park further in. We'll actually end up with a better piece of property. And so that's not ready yet. We don't know.
So you still think you'll do like combined type of workshops?
Probably. And, one of the reasons we did that as well was, a lot of the architects, if they're from out of town, they charge you for those trips. And so we combined that with this particular landscape architect firm was working with Bill Belknap on the entryway beautification program. So we tried to combine all that to save some money. And worked out good. These guys really worked well with the citizens. Yeah, sorry. My memory's not what it used to be. So overall, we had, back to your initial question, we have 9 properties, and 4 of which we're ready right now to design. These 2 plus Lola Clyde and Milton Arthur. Then Baker Street, as soon as they decide where that's going to be and go back to the plat process. We have Mosier Park, which is 4.68 acres, but there's no access to it yet. And the way these things kind of go as they get in there, you never know if there's going to be a request for a little bit of change, in borders and all that kind of stuff. So it'd probably be a waste of money to work on the design of that yet. We also have Indian Hills 8th, where we had those additional
Go to the
lands,
west.
and we just gave them some resting places further to the west. And we have Ridgeview Park, which is out by your old stomping grounds. It's out toward the cemetery direction. It's just a small tot lot
Along
type.
Troy Highway.
Yes. And then lastly, everybody's favorite, and that's the West Palouse River Drive property, 44 acres. And of course, we don't have a design other than what we had for the ball fields, but we are already using that for the cyclocross course. And that's where we're at with these. So as soon as we get some of the definities nailed down on what's going to happen with these properties, then we'll go forward with those designs.
Good, thanks.
Okay, well, we've got a motion by Wayne and a second by Jim to adopt the Indian Hills Park. You got something else you want to talk about?
If I may, after the vote, I have a comment regarding the parks, if I might.
Okay. All right, well, we'll start the vote with you, Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, we will move forward with that. Now, Walter, you had a comment?
Thank you, sir. The elephant in the room, Dwight's already mentioned, and I know this is not before us tonight, that is the almost choke the elephant price of developing these parks. We've got these two, he's fixing to do two more, he's got a list that goes on out to a total of 9 properties. We are blessed with park land, but not blessed with park development. And we need to, Mayor and Council and Gary and Dwight need to be thinking about the future and how are we going to get this done. If we try to do these, one at a time, I don't know who in this room will live long enough to see them all. There's got to be a way, and I don't particularly have it, Gary, possibly a bond issue to be discussed somewhere down the road. Another idea that I had at the Public Works Committee the other day just popped in my head would be if the city could find its way clear to put $100,000 or $125,000, $150,000 a year aside, dedicated in a box for parkland development. In a matter of 10 years, you could do at least these 2 parks. So just some thoughts. I do understand from Dwight that on the Indian Hill 6th property that we do have some citizen interest in some amount of money to help get some type of play structure or some usefulness in it in the immediate, or if not immediate, very near future. And I think Dwight is starting to turn that over in his head as to what could be done with some of that money, maybe a small amount of city money, and not be wasted, not something that you'd have to just rip out when you finally do the whole thing per the design that we just approved. But I think I can truly speak for yourselves, but I think we need to work toward finding a way to get some of these developed. You can look at the number of people using the park on Asbury, East City Park, the parks that we have, Rotary, et cetera. So they are used. We just need to figure out a way to get them built, and the problem with that is figuring out how to get them funded.
Well, everybody sitting up here likes the idea of parks, and it's wonderful, and just like you said, it's always a money issue, and it's like chipping away at an iceberg with an ice pick, and we've got to just keep clawing away and getting what we can get done as we go along, too, just like the Optimus Park that we opened this summer, which turned out to be a very nice park for that neighborhood down there. And we are going to continue working on that. So with your leadership in that, Dwight, you'll be bringing these things forward to us all the time.